The 2019 Kansas City Chiefs might have had the single best 12-4 season in NFL history. Not only did the Chiefs rally back from 7-4 to win 5 straight regular season games, followed by 3 postseason games, but Kansas City was also able to weather the storm for nearly a month when their quarterback and reigning league MVP Patrick Mahomes dislocated his knee in a Week 7 victory against the Denver Broncos. Not to mention the fact they were coming off of a brutal AFC Championship Game loss to the eventual Super Bowl champion New England Patriots during the 2018 NFL playoffs. The Chiefs had the Patriots right where they wanted them in that contest, and the Super Bowl was in their sights. Mahomes is playing all-time good football in 2018, having locked up the league MVP honors well before the regular season even ended. The offense had been firing on all cylinders, and the defense had done just enough. All they needed was one last stop, and the Chiefs were primed for Super Bowl glory, and it appeared as though they had gotten it too. But in a split second, it all came crumbling down when defensive end Dee Ford lined up offsides, giving New England new life. Tom Brady and New England came storming back, tied the game, and won the coin toss ahead of overtime. And Mahomes and the Chiefs offense never saw the ball again. Keep in mind, this was all hanging in the backdrop of the 2019 Kansas City Chiefs season. Bad luck, unfortunate timing, and what should have been weighed heavily on an uber-talented Chiefs team, especially its leader Patrick Mahomes, who was heading into his second year as a starter in the NFL and was about to face unprecedented expectation levels coming off his debut act, in which he threw for 5,000-plus yards and 50 touchdowns. The Chiefs got off to a great start, winning their first 4 games of the season, 3 of which were on the road, and their one home victory was against the Ravens, who finished the year with an NFL-best 14-2 record. Early on, it looked like 2019 was headed towards being a true coronation for Mahomes as the league's best player. But then the Chiefs suffered shocking back-to-back home losses in Week 5 to the abruptly Andrew Luckless Indianapolis Colts, and in Week 6 after they blew a 17-3 first-quarter lead against the Houston Texans. And just like that, a Chiefs team that looked to be an early Super Bowl favorite suddenly had question marks all around it. Would their defense be capable come playoff time? Was the offense snake-bitten from the way the previous season ended? And somehow, people even started to question Mahomes, who had regressed ever so slightly from his otherworldly 2018 campaign. As ridiculous as it sounds now, these questions were actually being asked. The voices got quiet quickly, but not for a reason that Mahomes or the Chiefs would have wanted. The following week against the Denver Broncos, Mahomes busted up his knee, suffering a dislocation that looked like it could be season-ending, and it probably would have been for anyone else. But not for Patrick Mahomes, who miraculously was born with a unique condition that positioned him for an insanely fast recovery. Mahomes was born with loose ligaments in his knee, similar to what we would call double-jointed, and as a result, the dislocation only compromised a single ligament. It was a complete anomaly for an injury like the one Mahomes sustained. Anyway, the Chiefs managed to tread water while Mahomes was out, managing a 2-1 record behind the steady play of backup quarterback Matt Moore. Kansas City's young star made it back for his Week 10 start against an underrated Tennessee Titans team, and while he looked somewhat limited in his mobility, he put forth a beastly performance, throwing for 446 yards and 3 touchdowns in a devastating 35-32 loss. While morale was rising in KC with the return of Mahomes, the Chiefs had left themselves with little room for error, and they needed to put together a near-perfect stretch to close out the season in what was one of the most hotly contested AFC playoff races in years. Fortunately for Kansas City, the rest of the AFC West teams completely fell off the wagon down the stretch of the season. But even so, it was looking like hosting a playoff game was a long shot. Kansas City won its next game against division rival the Los Angeles Chargers. Then they had a bye week during 13, giving the team a chance to rest and regroup. After completely obliterating the Oakland Raiders off of the bye week, 40-9, the Chiefs, now 8-4, had a crucial matchup with the New England Patriots, who had started off the season with a perfect 8-0, and were sitting at 10-2, looking like a lock for a first-round bye come playoff time. Barring a complete collapse from the first-place Baltimore Ravens, the Chiefs needed to win this game if they wanted any chance of getting a first-round bye. To make matters worse for the Chiefs, the game was slated to kick off at 4:25 p.m. in Foxborough, which is as hard of a place as there is for opposing teams to win an important game. So, following the decimation of the Raiders, the Chiefs went through their practice week as they normally would, and on the Saturday before the game, they hopped on a plane and headed to Gillette Stadium all set to square up with the Patriots for a last-ditch effort at earning a top 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. Little did Kansas City know, but all of its hard work and preparation were almost for nothing, as an antiquated rule, poor timing, and downright bad luck nearly cost them the game without even stepping foot on the field. As the story goes, the Chiefs took their flight to New England, just as they normally would. The team met at the airport, hopped on the plane, and when they got into New England, they headed straight to the hotel. As far as the players knew, everything was going according to plan, but little did they know that behind the scenes, someone had dropped the ball in a big way. An equipment container containing some of the Kansas City Chiefs' shoulder pads, helmets, and footballs was somehow not loaded by one of the staffers, sending it on a journey elsewhere. Fortunately for the Chiefs, who were in a panic after realizing that they did not have more than half the team's equipment, the plane's next stop was in Newark, New Jersey, which is approximately 210 miles from Foxborough. While this is not exactly close, all things considered, having the equipment a mere 4-hour drive away after such an epic blunder was beyond lucky. Once team officials realized the mistake had been made and tracked down the equipment, they frantically began strategizing how to best get it to the game on time, which was a tall task considering it was an afternoon kickoff and not a night game. They also decided to reach out to the NFL to see what the best course of action would be if for whatever reason they were not able to get the equipment to the game on time. And let's just say that they did not get the kind of answer that they were looking for from the league. According to Section 4 of the NFL rulebook, if any player is not wearing the league-approved equipment, the player will be advised to make the appropriate correction at the next change of possession. And if the violation is not corrected, the player will not be permitted to enter the game. Furthermore, any repeat offenders would be disqualified from the game, meaning that the majority of the Chiefs players would have been kicked out of the game and the team would have subsequently had to forfeit, all but ending their aspirations for a first-round bye and home field advantage in the divisional round of the playoffs. The conversation with the league ensured that the Chiefs fully grasped the severity of the situation, and they began stringing together a plan of action. And, of course, some crazy backup plans. They were ultimately unable to get the equipment back up from Newark.
About an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game, the Chiefs' equipment arrived at Gillette Stadium.
After all, this was a huge game for the Chiefs. They couldn't bear the thought of forfeiting such an important contest, especially not to the hated Patriots.
They apparently had to bus it over or get it on trucks and drive it over to Foxborough, Massachusetts.
And in the best case scenario that they had mapped out, the equipment was scheduled to arrive between 3 p.m. and 3:30 p.m., leaving very little room for error. So developing a contingency plan was not the worst idea. They went as far as tracking down and contacting John Delanis, the athletic director at the nearby Masconomet Regional High School. The Chiefs representative from Riddell, the company that manufactures both Kansas City's and Masconomet's helmets, called Delanis early on Sunday morning before the game and delivered what was probably the most surprising message that a high school athletic director has ever received. John, he said, the Kansas City Chiefs need to borrow Masconomet's football helmets. And thus ensued a mad scramble to get as much of Masconomet's equipment to Gillette Stadium as they could. We are talking escorts from the state police and an all-hands-on-deck effort to turn a local high school's helmets into a contingency plan. Now, if you are wondering why Masconomet was chosen, it's a simple answer. The school's mascot is the Chieftains, and the helmet sports the exact same white arrowhead on a red base as Kansas City's helmets. The only difference being a red M printed in the middle of the high school's helmets, whereas Chiefs is marked with KC. Looking back, Delanis was relieved that the helmets never needed to be used, explaining to the Metro West Daily News that he is a die-hard Boston sports fan, continuing to say, I would not have wanted to be responsible for a loss, Delanis said. I probably would have had to change my identity. While this was all going on in the background, the Chiefs players were trying to prepare for the game as normally as they could, and the team staffers were still desperately trying to rectify the error and get the gear up from Newark. Of course, the general public was quick to point the finger at New England, and Bill Belichick, who many football fans consider to be the NFL equivalent to Star Wars' Sith Lord. While there was a bit of a leap in logic here, that didn't stop NFL fans from throwing on their tinfoil hats, attempting to connect the dots to prove that the good people that brought us Spygate and Deflategate had masterminded an elaborate equipment heist, which would render the Chiefs unable to play. As luck would have it, everything went smoothly in transporting the missing equipment, and camera crews caught Chiefs staffers hustling through Gillette's tunnels, each lugging as many of the massive equipment bags as they could. There was no hamming it up for the cameras either, as the staffers hustled through the building. It was out of necessity. When the camera crew saw them running through the tunnel, it was already 3:47 p.m., meaning that the kickoff was less than 40 minutes away. Miraculously, the Chiefs players got their gear, got changed, and made it out on the field on time. They did get off to a somewhat sluggish start, only scoring 3 points in the first quarter, which ended with them trailing the Patriots 7-3. But KC came storming back, scoring 17 unanswered points in the second quarter and ultimately winning the game 23-16. This game was the turning point in the Chiefs' 2019 season. Without that victory, they would have been unable to capitalize on the Patriots' shocking Week 17 loss to the Miami Dolphins, which allowed Kansas City to steal the number 2 seed right out from under New England. Without the first-round bye and home field advantage in the AFC Championship game, who knows what would have happened to the Chiefs? And to think, all that Super Bowl glory was nearly thrown away because of missing equipment. Do you think the Chiefs would have still won the Super Bowl without a first-round bye? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, now's a great time to hit that subscribe button down below as well. If you liked the video, then like the video. We'd really appreciate it. And last but not least, don't forget to tune in to TPS every single day for more cool videos. We'll see you next time.